I'm Ursula Pike, the Associate Director of the Digital Higher Education Consortium of Texas, also called Digitex. And I'm also the system lead for the Texas Quality Matters Consortium. And before we start, as we just said, this webinar will be recorded and archived and available on the Digitex YouTube channel. And at the end of the webinar, we'll put into the chat a brief evaluation form that we'd love for you to fill out so we can look at it going forward. And closed captioning is thanks to Rebecca Kadoff from Caption Sync. There is a link in the chat which Rebecca is doing the live captioning. So you can click on that and you'll be able to see everything captioned. Thank you so much, Rebecca. So I wanted to talk to you first about today's presenters. So today's presenters are Linda Reed and Sally Hughes from Blinn College. And Linda Reed has been in education since the 1970s. She's seen classrooms, ditto machines, and film strips replaced by learning management systems, mobile apps, and just-in-time online learning. Ms. Reed's educational background includes degrees from Baylor University, Texas A&M, and graduate studies in special education from Tarleton University. As an instructional designer for Blinn and a member of the Texas Quality Matters, sorry about that. And a member of the Texas Quality Matters Consortium, Ms. Reed has provided pedagogical, technology, and quality matters training. In her spare time, the former consumer and family science instructor enjoys cooking, sewing, and teaching grandchildren about cooking and science. And Sally Hughes has been an instructional designer for over 10 years with decades of experience as a classroom teacher, program aide, and curriculum developer. Ms. Hughes is a member of the QM Instructional Design Association and a certified QM facilitator for the Improving Your Online Course, Designing Your Online Course, and Applying the QM Rubric Professional Development. She's working on her doctorate in educational leadership from Lamar University to add to her bachelor's in education from UT and her Aggie master's in educational technology. In her free time, she likes to dig in her garden with her Great Dane Bonnie and go camping with her husband. Her 2 adult sons live in Austin. So I'd like to thank Linda and Sally for presenting, and you may now share your screen. Let's see.
Okay, I'm taking a moment to get my mouse to cooperate here. Okay, so we are happy to be with y'all today, and we are going to share a few of our ideas. As we go along, just remember the toggle switch is at the bottom of your screen, and we would like you to make sure you've got your chat box open because we'd like you to post all your questions, excuse me, in the chat box. We will make sure we answer all questions, and we have a Q&A at the end. So we want to take a moment and use our experiences to share with you how we arrived at the place that we are at today to incorporate research-based best practices into our course design, how we identified a rubric to use in the process, an internal course review process that we have implemented at Blinn, and how we train our faculty. So our agenda is we're going to do a brief journey of our experience, the search we went through, and the benefits we have found from being in Texas QMC. As we look at all of this, you're probably asking yourself, what is the benefits of being in QMC? And how does that benefit me as an instructor? Or how does that help us in our accreditation? Well, Blinn began developing online classes with the first technologies that were available. Our history pretty much parallels the history of technology, from simple websites and using TVs to broadcast between our campuses, Then we went to dial-up modems and the first computers, and those developed our early online courses. Of course, back then there were no standards, there were no expectations, there were no professional development. Each instructor was responsible for teaching themselves the technology and teaching themselves how to teach online. Well, along this process, we quickly discovered that we needed some guidance. We needed some expectations. We needed professional development, and we wanted to provide quality online courses. This led us to start looking at Department of Education research, independent research, and there's multiple distance learning organizations. They also provide you with a checklist and information. And of course, over the years, technology, both hardware, software, and the internet have greatly changed. So using all of these changes in development has led us to where we are this semester with dealing with a pandemic and the variety of course offerings and modalities that we are using this fall to try and meet the challenge. So just to kind of show you what we're doing, at Blinn, we offer what we call our live online courses, and live online are Zoom classes. They are taught through Zoom. Students submit their assignments through the LMS, but all classes are taught with Zoom. We have what we call traditional with live online. In these classes, the students sign up to come to class one day a week, and then the other class day, they participate with Zoom. So the students, 50% are on campus one day, 50% are on campus the next day, and they flip-flop as to who's watching through Zoom. And then again, they submit their assignments through the LMS. Blinn is moving toward 8-week courses. And this semester, we are offering 8-week courses for the first time. These we're offering through a blended modality. The students still attend class 2 days a week. And they do just like the traditional class. They pick a day that they attend class, and then the other day they attend through Zoom. And then over 50% of their work is online. And then the last class offering we have are our fully online courses. We call those flexible online because these are the classes students may do at any time as long as they meet the deadlines. But it's fully online and there's no required Zoom lessons on this one. So you can see that the technologies are providing us with great opportunities. At the same time, our faculty are in a very steep learning curve, and we're trying to provide them with all the professional development we can to assist them as we move forward. So over 10 years ago, Blinn College recognized this need for organizing the distance learning department and really setting very specific expectations and guidelines. Of course, accreditation is our guide. As in all institutions, we're in this area, we're a member of TXQMC-COC. Excuse me. Their expectations for distance learning are available online. And these are the guide that Blinn College uses when we started to research what we needed to do. There's a few very specific policies that just very quickly I'm going to hit because these affected or influenced our decisions on partly moving to the Texas QMC. One we need as an institution, we have to verify that our students online are the students completing the work. And they list several methods in the guide. The institution must provide a written policy on how they protect student privacy, especially in the online environment. And they must be explicit notification if the students are going to pay any distance learning fees or verification fees. The college must provide a very accurate count of distance learning students, and the institution the online classes must follow the principles of accreditation document just as the on-campus classes do. So this guide is very detailed and there's a lot of information in it. If you are a full-time online teacher or you teach online classes, I highly recommend that you look this information up, and we've got the links to these things. I want to show you on our PowerPoint here that there are 3 bullets that really influenced where we are today. And one of these is that the institution offering distance or correspondence learning courses must ensure that the faculty is qualified to develop, design, and teach the courses. So remember those words: develop, design, and teach. The institution has to have a clear criteria for evaluating a faculty teaching distance courses, and the faculty who teach must have received appropriate training. So if you notice that training is very important to SACS. These 3 points are the source for many of the questions that SACS COC review may ask when they come to your campus. And we had a review about 5 years ago. And with this review, it led us to start looking for some answers to some questions. The reviewers made it very clear that what we were doing at that time 5 years ago was meeting the standard. But they also made it clear that we were going to need to improve our processes over the next 5 years. So we began to look for a better management system. We looked for a software program that we could use because we had already written our own checklist, and we had written our own expectation document for our faculty. We were currently providing our own training, and we were doing an internal review of the courses developed by the faculty. So we had processes in place, but they weren't running smoothly. It was very cumbersome. So in the process of looking for a better software management system, we stumbled across the QM database, their software system. This system allowed us to customize it, to enter our own checklist, and to conduct our own internal review system, and it managed everything for us. We were very pleased to find this. Now, what we discovered was that within a year, we adopted the full QM system. We moved to their rubric. It was very explicit. It was built into the system, so it required a lot less work. The annotations were very clear about the expectation for course design, and it provided professional development in the APPQMR, the applying the QM rubric, and then the improving your online course. Those were the 2 courses we could facilitate ourselves and start training our own faculty. So between the rubric, the training, these all made it very clear to our faculty what they needed to do to design a course, and they were very clear about what was being used to evaluate their course. And so we had an aligned system. And with that, Sally, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Linda. All right.
Do you want me to stop sharing?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let me skip ahead. All right. So we were looking for an aligned system. And with that, we wanted a comprehensive way to manage our course review process, one that incorporated the training, the research-based rubric, the course design, the review process, and This process also had to be cost effective. It needed to be recognized by SACs, and it needed to be something that the faculty would recognize as beneficial. Quality Matters was the organization that answered this need, but it was too expensive to follow independently. And that, as a part of the Virtual College of Texas, we knew that the colleges worked together to meet the technology needs. The Texas QMC was one of these joint efforts. And so through exploration, we discovered that we could have our own people trained as facilitators and offer professional development through the Texas QMC. Also, we were able to buy into the data management system, QM system, and have these materials available to us. So the benefits of using the Texas QMC is it all worked together: the training, the rubric, the course design, the review process. The training was, it provided us access to this low-cost training. The QM rubric is research-based. It's recognized by accreditation agencies. The Texas Quality Matters Consortium provided us access to these materials. The QM rubric speaks to the course design. It provides those clear expectations for faculty up front on how to design a course and how their course will be reviewed. And then the internal review. Keep in mind, QM does have a robust course review process, but we were looking at modeling an internal course review process based on the QM course review process. And our internal process would provide clear feedback to instructors on how to improve their course. The easy-to-use database manages our internal course review process for us. So the professional development component of the QM program, we initially started by implementing the QM professional development. Blinn paid for 2 instructional designers to become facilitators. And we started with the applying the QM rubric, the APPQMR, and the improving your online course, the IYOC. And one of us was the online facilitator and the other was the face-to-face facilitator. So we covered both modalities. And after the initial cost of certifying those 2 facilitators, the cost to provide the QM training to our faculty members is nominal. Face-to-face training for our Blinn instructors is really nothing other than the cost to cover the materials for our participants. And so we can either pay to pay for the folders by buying folders from QM, or if we want, we now can generate our own folders. So it's kind of disappearing in my blue background, but this is one of our self-produced folders of materials for our face-to-face trainings. If we are going to offer the online training, the only cost to Blinn for that is we pay a $25 fee per participant, and that's really just for the use of QM's learning management system. It's a technology fee, and that used to be Moodle, but now it's Canvas since they just switched over. Outside participants can take training through Blinn's offerings, but they have to pay a $75 fee, and that is just that's even less than what they would pay if they were to take it directly from QM. So even offering training to other QM consortium members, it's cheaper than if they were to take it directly from QM. Blinn instructors are required to take QM prior to developing their online or blended course. And we'll talk more about our internal process a little bit later. We currently offer 3 different QM professional development workshops, as you can see on this slide. We offer the APPQMR, which is a foundational course. It's for anyone. You don't have to have prior online experience. It is an overview course, covers the whole rubric and the review process. It also is a requirement for if you're going to seek out a QM role. For example, if you were someone who wanted to continue learning about QM or go on to become a QM peer reviewer, it's their foundational course. We also offer the IYOC. This is really geared for someone who has online teaching experience because it requires that you have an online course. The Improving Your Online course walks participants through the process of reviewing their existing course, comparing it to the QM standards, and participants walk out of that course really with a to-do list of edits that they're going to make to their course based on QM standards. And then the newest offering that we have is the Designing Your Online course. It is for people who are completely new to online instruction. It assumes you know nothing about it. It takes you through the whole QM rubric, and basically participants go through the rubric and design a single module for their online course with the idea that they're going to take the structure of that module and flesh out a full course based on the idea of the alignment of that module. Faculty who take any of our offerings of QM professional development receive a free rubric, and we are able to provide that because of all of the offerings we've been able to do through the Texas QMC. And if you think back to what Linda talked about with the accreditation and such, the Texas Higher Ed Coordinating Board really wants us to be able to answer this question: does the institution provide orientation, training, and support services for faculty involved in distance education programs, as well as the SAC-COC faculty expectations previously stated? And so if you look at the professional development that we're offering and really requiring of our instructors prior to developing their online courses, these are the trainings that we're requiring. So here's the development. When we talk about the review process, you'll see where the support comes in. Okay. All right, next slide. Okay, so we referenced the rubric a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more about it. This is what the rubric currently looks like. This is the 6th edition. It came out in 2018. And the rubric is provided free to any of our participants who take professional development. Faculty who take QM training is free to them. It is a portable credential. We don't want our faculty to leave us, but when they do, they know that if they've taken QM training with us, that's not Blinn's version. It is official QM training. They can download their certificate, and that is official training. So they have that portable credential. The rubric is based on Maryland Online's program, which started as a Department of Education research grant. Every time they update this rubric, it is based on a full literature review, and the literature that they use, the research that it's based on, is available on the QM website. You can go look at it. It's there. It's based on decades of research into what is effective in online learning practices. If you compare the standards that are in the QM rubric, they're similar to other online checklists or other online rubrics for quality assurance. And that's because they're using similar research, sometimes the same research. It's focused on online and blended course design, but it also speaks to what's effective in face-to-face course design as well. Alignment of course objectives with assessments and instructional materials and learning objectives and interaction and communication. It should be emphasized regardless of the course modality. And many of my instructors have told us that after they have completed QM training, they've kind of revamped their face-to-face classes as well to increase the quality of all their instruction, because good pedagogy is good pedagogy. So, yes, this speaks to our online course design, but it also improves all types of courses. So the rubric is really good practice, good instructional practice. Both the SAC-COC and the Texas Higher Ed Coordinating Board have guides for distance learning, and the content should follow the ACGM catalog for lower division academic courses to make courses transferable. The Principles for Good Practice document question states that academic standards for all programs or courses offered electronically will be the same as those for programs or courses delivered by other means at the institution where the program or course originates. And so I really feel like our online courses are very high quality because they do adhere to the QM standards, and they are looked at multiple times by multiple people to see if they meet these quality standards. When I'm done speaking, I'm going to put some links in the chat for you to look at some of these standards, some of these documents that we keep referencing from the Texas Higher Ed Coordinating Board and from SAC-COC. So I said I was going to talk a little bit about our review process, so let's look at that. So we have an internal course review process that is modeled based on the QM review process. If you know anything about the QM review process, one thing you probably know is that it is very expensive. Even if you were to use the discounts that are available through the Texas QM Consortium, which are significant, it still can be extremely expensive. And so Blinn has developed our internal course review process that is modeled after that. If you look at this flow chart, you'll see how we modeled ours. So after our instructors take the required QM training, the faculty work with an instructional designer to develop their course and implement the best practices from the rubric into their course design. The faculty will then submit their course to the instructional designer to review for the QM standards, and the instructional designer will then move the course forward in our review process, which is managed by our distance learning department. The course will then go to the division for a content review to ensure that the content is at the appropriate level. Any other content-based components are there, and if the division has any specific division requirements, it's also checked at that stage. The course then is submitted for a peer review with the forms during that peer review completed in the QM database. And we do customize our database components to match our internal review. The final report then goes to the instructor for edits if there are any edits needed. Just like in a QM review, edits can be done, and so our internal review edits can be done. In our review process, the course can be taught for 3 years after review, or it must go through the process again every 3 years, or if there is a 20% change to the course or more. I just said that. Who are our peer reviewers? Our peer reviewers are instructors who have been trained in the APPQMR. If you know anything about that training, not only does it cover the whole rubric, but it also goes pretty heavily through the peer review process. And so we use our instructors who have completed the APPQMR. Our internal peer reviewers receive service credit for doing peer reviews. And so we ask our reviewers to do 1 course review per semester. And we have some peer reviewers who really enjoy the peer review process. We do have some reluctant reviewers, but most of our peer reviewers do enjoy the process. We also have some reviewers who enjoy the process so much that they have asked to take the peer reviewer course from QM. And so because we want to reward that enthusiasm, we pay for, professional development pays for our instructors who want to continue that, we pay for that course. Okay, so we have people who have taken the APPQMR and the PRC, which, you know, makes them even better reviewers for us. It also allows them to review outside our institution. So we have a few instructors who review for other institutions and even review for QM. So all of these components, our low-cost training, the research-based rubric, the clear expectations that feed into our course design, our internal review, which provides clear feedback for our instructors. We could not have done this without Texas QM Consortium. We've trained over 300 faculty members. We have conducted over 400 internal reviews with the Texas QM Consortium. And the cost savings has allowed us to require faculty who are developing online blended courses to be trained. And this directly relates both to the Texas Higher Ed Coordinating Board and the SAC COC questions about professional development and ongoing support. So we couldn't have done it without the Texas QM Consortium, and we thank you. So are there any questions?
I'm looking in the box, and right now I don't see any questions.
I had a question. This is Ursula, and I had a question about the 8-week modality that you mentioned early on, that one day in class and then another day that is synchronous, Zoom. Is that right? Is the other day synchronous? And then also, did you have to tweak your training at all to address any specific concerns about that 8-week modality?
Okay, so the first part of it is, yes, our students who are in the blended class, they sign up online for either a, they sign up for the day they want to come. Let's say it's a Monday, Wednesday class. They pick either Monday or Wednesday when they register, and that goes into the system so that we can control the number of students that are actually in the classroom for that day. And so the students know if they sign up for Monday, they attend class on Monday, and they know that on Wednesday, they will attend class through Zoom. They're still required to attend, but they attend through Zoom. Now, the other group who have selected to attend class on Wednesday will go to campus on Wednesday, and the Monday group would watch through Zoom. And then they would have the other half of their work would be online. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And when you, just a follow-up question, and when you said that Blinn is moving in that direction, is it like 75% of your courses will in the future be 8-week, or?
You know, I don't know if we've actually put a number to that at the moment. This is our first semester, our first 8-week course. And I think we're moving slowly and evaluating how our students do and also how our faculty do, because this is a lot of change to ask them to move from 16-week to 8-week and to start teaching with Zoom. We just installed cameras and microphones in the classrooms so that they can go into their regular classroom and teach with Zoom. And they're tracking cameras that are at the back of the room to track the faculty as they move across the front of the room. So our faculty are in a major learning curve.
Amarillo College is a couple years ahead of us in this initiative. And Joyce, you might be able to provide Ursula with a contact at Amarillo College who might be able to answer her questions a little bit more. I see Joyce is on this session.
And I need to go look up his name, but Ursula, I will send it to you via the chat.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. I know there's special challenges with 8 weeks.
Are there any other questions?
I have another question, just about the timeline for the course review. Like if someone were teaching in the spring semester, would you recommend that they start about now to do their course review?
So our timeline has had some bumps and snags, and basically we have some courses where the big time span, it's really interesting. Some courses take the longest time in development, and some courses take the longest time in review, and some courses take the longest time in the revision stage. It really just depends on the instructor. It's hard to predict. We have so many variations that can cause a snag in how quickly a course goes through a course review. But I would have to say that most courses take the longest time in development.
And we try and provide a benchmark for them. We ask that all courses to be taught in the spring are submitted by the end of October. So, because our goal is to try and finish the review process before Thanksgiving, just because our faculty are our reviewers, and our faculty come back from Thanksgiving and they're very busy trying to end their own courses and their semester. So we have set a deadline for like October, the end of October in the fall, and in the spring we request that they have most everything turned in by the end of spring break, depending on whether spring break is early or late, but pretty much by the 1st of April, so that we can spend April doing reviews. That's kind of a general guideline.
It typically takes an instructor, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks to complete a review. If we're being generous with their time, knowing that they are a full-time instructor, and then, giving them time to do a course review on top of their regular instructor duties, we try to give them 4 to 6 weeks to complete that. We're trying to be respectful of their time, knowing that although they're earning service credit, we're trying to be respectful of their time as well.
Are there any more questions? All right. Did you have a question, Judith? Okay. All right. Well, Sally and Linda, thank you again so much. That is such good information. And I really appreciate you taking the time to tell us about your process and for being members of the Texas Quality Matters Consortium. And everyone, I will be sharing their email at the end of this. So if you have follow-up questions, then you can contact them later. But thank you very much. So I am going to share my screen. Let's see here. All right. And just so everyone knows, there was the higher ed peer reviewer that Linda and Sally were talking about. The course is, here's information on the Quality Matters website about that specific training. But let me go ahead and I know that the folks on the webinar, many of them are members of the Texas Quality Matters Consortium, but just to reiterate, we are 30 colleges and universities throughout the state, and the training resources offered to the members provide effective and affordable method for conducting online course reviews. And, but QM also has a lot of free webinars that are focused on best practices in online education. So if you go to qualitymatters.org, under resources, there is a specific tab for free webinars with just information about it. But if you want to find out more about the Texas Quality Matters Consortium, there's a link to our website, texasqualitymatters.org. Now, I wanted to tell you about, or give Judith a chance to talk about the next hot topics in digital higher education. Oh, unmute?
There we go. Thanks. Sorry, Ursula. Thank you. Just in time for Halloween, we are going to be having our webinar on October 29th, our next webinar, October 29th at 2 p.m. And the subject is Tricks and Treats, aka Tips for Navigating State Authorization in Texas. And I'm pleased to have two experts on this subject in this webinar. Jessica Acton from the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board is going to talk about the Texas State Portal for State Authorization Reciprocity Agreement. And Cheryl Dowd from the Wichita Cooperative for Educational Technologies is going to talk about the ways that the State Authorization Network can provide support and resources for state authorization, as well as broader federal education and policy related to distance education. Thanks, Ursula.
Yes, great. Thank you very much. And we will be sending out to the Digitex listserv, Google group, a reminder about this for registering for this. So before I leave, I just wanted to make sure that I shared everyone's contact information, Linda's, Sally's, and mine. In case anybody has any follow-up questions, you can reach out to us here. We will also send out a transcript of this webinar and a link to the recording on the listservs. And unless there are any follow-up questions that anyone has.
And everyone, I'm going to drop the link for the webinar survey into the chat box.
Yes, great. Thank you, Heather. Heather is dropping the link to the survey for the webinar in the chat box. Please take it if you have a chance. I'll stay on for 2 more minutes in case anybody needs to access that. But thank you everybody for participating. Have a good week, and we'll see you at the next webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.